We start tonight in Los Angeles, where thousands of municipal workers are on the picket line, bringing the city government to a near halt. It is all part of a one-day walkout by the SEIU Local 72. That's a union that represents a range of government jobs, including gardeners, traffic officer, custodians, lifeguards, and more. This is the first time city workers have hit the picket line, get this, in more than 40 years. But the union says they voted to take this step after Los Angeles city management failed to bargain in good faith.
Our members are sending the city a message that we want to deal with serious issues. We filed unfair labor practice charges against the city because they were not bargaining in good faith.
They've been disrespecting us ever since COVID. We're short-staffed. Our working conditions have changed dramatically, and in order for us to provide a good service to the community, we need to go back to the table.
Now, the strike has interrupted quite a few services today in L.A. There was no trash collection, for example, no cleanup at homeless encampments, public pools and animal shelters were closed, and some other services like traffic control, airport services, parking enforcement, those all faced delays. Now, this latest strike comes as Hollywood writers and actors have been out on the picket line, and other groups, like now the VFX artists over at Marvel, have moved to unionize. NBC's Miguel Almaguer joins me now from L.A. Miguel, talk to us about what the union means when they say the city has not been bargaining in good faith. What are you hearing out there?
Well, Jake, the city and the union are under a contract right now, but it expires this winter. So negotiations for the next contract should be well underway right now. But SEIU Local 721 says city negotiators have not come to the table with a reasonable proposal for a deal both sides can find common ground on. So in a show of force using numbers to speak volumes, today's one-day strike was ordered to illustrate what a real strike could look like later this year, a lengthier strike. Among the demands, fill thousands of vacant jobs that require extraordinary overtime for current employees. Now, the mayor, Karen Bass, here has said, she was not available to talk on camera, but in a statement says the city's negotiating in good faith. Here's what some folks told us today who walked off the job.
There's a lot less people now, and we're getting out the same amount of work. You know, it's not fair. We're working harder for the same amount.
There's about 4,000 positions that need to be filled, and we're working 7 o'clock at night every day. We don't have the right equipment. It just gets tiring.
People are tired of waiting to get paid right. People are tired of waiting for them to hire new people. People are tired of not being heard, not being seen, and most importantly, being respected and appreciated for the hard work that they do.
So there you have it, Jake. Workers taking their frustrations to the streets for this one-day strike.
Well, this really feels like, just a summer of discontent when it comes to labor issues, Miguel. I mean, you combine this one, right, with this latest news about Marvel's VFX crews moving to unionize. You've got the writers and the SAG-AFTRA strike. You've got hotel workers in L.A. I mean, it has been a busy summer of labor actions. How does it feel in total out there, sort of being in the midst of it, Miguel?
Yeah, Jake, you could call this the summer of strikes. As you laid out, writers here in Los Angeles went on strike several months ago. Actors joined them a few weeks ago. And hotel workers across Southern California have also walked off the job. Of course, nobody here says they want to strike, but many feel empowered to hit the picket line now, demanding better pay and benefits, among other issues. We're seeing movements like this really play out across the country, but some of these stalemates have gone from weeks to months. That's certainly the danger here, Jake.
And as far as the city strike goes, I mean, what is the city saying to Angelenos? I mean, how have the people living there been affected, and how is the city managing that disruption today?
So as we mentioned, the mayor wouldn't go on camera, but she did release a statement. It said, in part, the city of Los Angeles is not going to shut down, adding in the back end of that statement that the city will continue bargaining in good faith for fair contracts. Now, there was some disruption today at LAX. Shuttle drivers and sanitation teams walked off the job. Animal shelters were closed across the city. So were many city swimming pools. Most traffic officers also walked off the job, which could be a major problem tonight as concerts in this area are just getting set to get underway, Jake.
Miguel Almaguer from the Summer of Strikes. Thank you so much, Miguel.
You bet.
Now, it seems like Donald Trump's legal problems are really only continuing to intensify. A hearing has now been scheduled for this Friday. The Trump team and special counsel Jack Smith will come together and discuss the scope of the protective order the special counsel's team is asking for. That's an order, of course, to stop Trump from talking about evidence in the case. And quite frankly, Trump might have given them a lot more ammunition for their argument today. He was out on the campaign trail over in New Hampshire this afternoon, and he spoke his message that he'd been writing on Truth Social directly into the camera to voters, hitting quite hard, rather defiantly, on the protective order, his indictments, and more. Take a listen.
I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on bullshit. I have one of these lunatic reporters back there saying, "Sir, would like to talk to you about your case." Or, "I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about it." Somehow that's not good for votes. Do you agree? When we say I can't talk, I'd love to. I will talk about it. I will. They're not taking away my First Amendment right.
NBC News legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Carol Lamb joins me now. Carol, I am really excited to talk to you because I need your help here. I mean, these are some strong words by Trump, right? Our team is calling this one of his most defiant speeches ever. But I have to assume, you tell me, but if I'm Jack Smith watching Trump on the campaign trail, I'm assuming that I'm going to be hanging on every word he says. I mean, how would you anticipate the prosecution will respond to this? And does it, in fact, give them new ammunition in court?
Right, Jake. So I guarantee you Jack Smith's team is hanging on to every word that the former president says on the campaign trail. But let's first be clear. Protective orders and the government's motion for a protective order, there's nothing unusual about that at all. It happens in virtually every case. I think it's happened in every case I've ever been involved in, either criminal or civil. And the reason is that you want to be sure that the evidence that you're required to turn over to the other side, that the government is required to turn over to the defense, is not just going to be laid out in public before the trial, where witnesses, their statements, their testimony before the grand jury is going to be out there to be poured through by everybody, and the witnesses might end up intimidated, or there might be confidential information, business information sometimes in civil cases or criminal cases. There are reasons why a judge would say, no, you don't get to talk about this specific evidence at trial. Now, in this case, it is perhaps not surprising that there is a little bit of disagreement about what falls under the protective order, because you do have a defendant who is on the campaign trail and he does want to talk about things. And the judge has to find good cause for imposing a protective order over certain types of evidence. But what Donald Trump did today, and what I think he is going to continue to do, is he is confusing and conflating a protective order with a gag order. There is no gag order in this case, and there's no sign of a gag order coming down that says he can't talk about the case. He is able to go out to say, I think this is unfair. I've been charged with this trial. I don't like the timing. I don't like the charges. I did nothing wrong. He is entitled to say that. But the problem is that he is saying things in a very belligerent way that Jack Smith's team is undoubtedly going to bring to the judge's attention.
Well, I think it's so interesting, Carol. I mean, as you say, it is not unusual to put a protective order here, but it is so unusual the circumstances we're under, where, the person who's under the order is, running for president. And so I guess I wonder, Trump's strategy here seems to be that risking further legal trouble by being as belligerent as you say, and speaking perhaps in future about evidence, right? Being this sort of critical, I mean, maybe all of that will be worth it, he figures, if it gets him elected, because at that point he's president and he can erase all of this. So I guess my question for you is, do you think he can outrun the legal process here?
Well, the problem for Donald Trump and for his lawyers, first of all, the problem for his lawyers is they are probably nervous, because if they don't get this protective order narrowed down, the odds that Donald Trump is actually going to violate the protective order increases. And what I think we might see happening is the threat to Donald Trump becoming larger and larger, that actually the judge may have to take sanctions against him. And that is problematic, of course, because he is on the campaign trail. Ultimately, sometimes people are fined, people are incarcerated if they don't follow the judge's orders. So, maybe he's making that gamble that the judge would never do it. But if he pushes too hard, it's going to be up to the judge to be both reasonable but fair.
Carol Lamb, former federal prosecutor, thank you so much for being with us. Now to Ohio, where polls have just closed in a very consequential special election. Voters today checked either yes or no on what's called Issue 1. That's a measure that could raise the threshold on votes needed to change the state's constitution. Now, why does this matter? Well, come November, abortion will be on the ballot. Ohioans will get to decide for themselves whether or not to amend the state constitution and protect reproductive rights. NBC's Ali Vitale is in Columbus with the latest. Hey, Ali.
Jake, coming to the close of a high-stakes voting day here in Ohio, turnout was up way higher than anybody expected. Nearly 700,000 people had already voted even before Election Day. That's much higher than most special and primary elections here in this state. But it is a sign that many people are looking at to the fact that there is a lot of motivation and energy on the ground to vote for this ballot initiative. What's interesting here is that voters that I've talked to were motivated by issues like reproductive access, but when they go to the polls, they're not seeing that on their ballot. That's because what they're voting on today is Issue 1. At stakes here is whether or not the state constitution should be amended by a simple majority vote, or if that threshold should be raised to 60%. The reason that they're talking about abortion, though, is because the Ohio Secretary of State here, Republican Frank LaRose, said that this initiative of changing how the Constitution is amended has everything to do, in his words, 100% having to do with keeping abortion protections out of the state's constitution in that coming November vote. I spoke with him just a little bit ago, and if he's optimistic about how this vote will go, and if he's got any doubts about the strategy he employed here.
I can tell you that the no campaign has definitely outspent the yes campaign, but I think Ohioans can see through that, and all the out-of-state special interest money that's poured into the state is not going to influence common sense Ohioans that want to put in place the kind of protections that other states have to, again, make sure that we put the message out that Ohio's Constitution is not for sale.
Now, despite LaRose's optimism, I've also talked to Republicans here who are downplaying the importance of this kind of a vote, and also Republicans who have said that they think that this strategy is outright wrong. Talking to one Republican legislator here who says that this was a rushed process and also hypocritical of his party because they had voted to get rid of August special elections, only to then put this one in place ahead of the ballot referendum coming on abortion access. And of course, none of this happens in a vacuum. We're watching this so closely because it is yet another flashpoint in this post-Roe era, watching how red states react and the staying power of abortion access as an issue heading into 2024. Jacob?
Now, we've been following Mississippi's primary race for governor because, you know, we talk about kitchen table issues in politics. Well, a key issue in this race is the price of groceries. More than 15% of people in Mississippi cannot provide enough food for their families because they just don't have the resources. And a big reason is because in that state, groceries are taxed. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist has more.
Sequoia Coleman hunts for every deal she can at the grocery store.
I don't care what you do, how much money you make. It's really hard out here.
As a mom of two who receives government assistance, every penny counts.
Prices on food, inflation, it is horrible right now.
She says she spends about $600 a month on groceries. $40 of that is state sales tax, adding up to about $500 per year. That's more than most spend because Coleman lives in Mississippi, one of only 13 states that still taxes food in this way, and it has the highest state tax applying to groceries at 7%.
As governor, I'll finally axe the grocery tax.
Getting rid of the state grocery tax is again a hot topic in this year's race for governor and here at the Neshoba County Fair, a traditional fair to its core, carnival rides, live cattle, even a horse race. It's also a must-attend event for any politician in this state.
Because of the out-of-control spending in Washington, D.C.
Boasting a multi-day, hours-long lineup that's a who's who of Mississippi politics.
Good morning, Neshoba County!
Republican Governor Tate Reeves rallying longtime supporters, telling them Mississippi is open for business. But it's the Democratic challenger, Brandon Presley, pushing for the grocery tax cut.
Everybody cannot be born rich and lucky. And that's why you need a governor that'll stand up for the people of Mississippi.
His message focused on working-class families includes tax-free food.
It's a shame and a disgrace. I mean, Mississippi is the poorest state in America, and yet we have the highest tax on food of any state in this country.
He argues eliminating the tax will have a bigger impact on low-income earners because they spend a bigger chunk of their paychecks on food.
One of the best ways we can help working families is to get the sales tax off of groceries and join other states in America by doing that. That puts money right back in the pockets of working people.
And many Mississippians seem to agree. A poll earlier this year showing 68% of respondents support suspending the grocery tax, including 71% of Republicans. Governor Reeves' team didn't grant us a one-on-one interview, but we caught up with him after his fair speech.
Governor, where do you stand on taxing groceries?
So look, I've never seen a tax cut that I didn't like. In fact, I think it's probably a better move to eliminate the income tax to zero. But if the legislature sends me a bill that cuts taxes without raising other taxes, I'd love to see it.
Reeves is touting tax breaks in his ads.
Take cut our state income tax, and we achieved the lowest unemployment rate in our state's history.
Experts say lowering income tax rates again would help create growth, but would also benefit high-income earners more.
Eliminating the income tax would have a bigger effect. The argument for eliminating the grocery tax is much more an argument about fairness.
Only the election will tell which tax change ultimately happens in this deep red state. But Sequoia Coleman says she could buy a lot with the money she loses to the grocery tax.
School uniform, shoes, formula wipes, diaper, gas, not the stuff that I want, but the stuff that my kids and I really need.
And NBC's Aaron Gilchrist joins us now. Aaron, it is just, I mean, it's astounding to me that the country's poorest state is taxing groceries in this way. You mentioned in the piece there that other states do it. I mean, are any other states pushing to end this grocery tax?
So, yeah, there are efforts in different states. Many of them surround Mississippi, but there are efforts to reduce or eliminate grocery taxes altogether. I think in Arkansas, the grocery tax is a fraction of a percentage point for that state. But as different legislative bodies have worked to present measures to try to get rid of taxes altogether on groceries, some of them have been met with resistance. Others have been successful in reducing the amount of tax in different places. And there's not a whole lot of talk just yet about what exactly might happen for Mississippi if there's a change that can be made in the near future. Although Brandon Presley says if he becomes governor, it's going to be a top priority for him to start pushing to lead on making sure that that tax is reduced or eliminated.
Well, to that point, I mean, Brandon Presley is taking on Governor Reeves in part by promising to do away with it. I mean, have you heard any actual defenses of the grocery tax? I can't quite imagine that part of it. And what are we expecting will happen in tonight's primary? How lucky do we think Presley might get, considering that he's making this promise?
Yeah, there aren't any real political defenses being presented about keeping the grocery tax. Reeves has said that he wants to eliminate the income tax, the state income tax, and that's been the point that he's really been driving, thinking that that's going to be something that would benefit people more than eliminating the grocery tax. As you point out, Brandon Presley ran unopposed in the primary here, so he will be the Democratic nominee for governor, and Tate Reeves is also expected to win in the primary as well in Mississippi tonight. And then comes the general election in November. You can see some of the numbers here from some recent polling that Presley trails Reeves by about 11 percentage points there going into November. So we'll see if that gap closes, if there's a change that happens, and whatever impact this grocery tax debate might have on the election come November and who actually wins. Jake?
Aaron, you have opened my eyes to an issue I knew nothing about. Aaron Gilchrist for us tonight. Aaron, thank you so much. Still to come, 3 arrest warrants have been issued in that crazy waterfront brawl in Alabama. We will bring you the latest on that investigation. Please stay tuned. Hey there, welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we are watching tonight. Rapper Tory Lanez has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting rapper Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. This incident happened back in 2020 after the two rappers got into an argument after a party at Kylie Jenner's house. The Supreme Court is allowing the federal government to regulate so-called ghost guns, at least for now. These are guns without serial numbers, and they can be pretty hard, if not impossible, to trace. In a 5-4 ruling, justices said the ATF can regulate them like normal guns, all while this case plays out in court. Jay-Z's Made in America music festival has been canceled. Organizers say the Philadelphia concert will no longer take place due to, quote, severe circumstances out of production control. Both SZA and Lizzo were scheduled to headline the 2-day event. The festival would have been Lizzo's first concert since a lawsuit was filed against her by her former dancers. The teenage cousin of the Uvalde school shooter has been arrested for making similar threats. The boy's mother is the one who called the police. The 17-year-old allegedly tried to illegally buy an AR-15 rifle, then threatened to shoot his sister and a school. A parent of a child who died in the Uvalde shooting is speaking out.
It's infuriating because, you know, this is why we fight, and it's hard enough as it is to send our remaining children to school because of, you know, reliving May 24th over and over.
And tonight's Mega Millions drawing is more like the Mega Billion. Right now, a record $1.58 billion jackpot is up for grabs. It takes your breath away, but the math is not in your favor, you guys. If you get a ticket, the odds of winning are just 1 in 302 million. In Alabama, police are charging 3 men with assault related to a brawl on the city's riverfront over the weekend. Police say the co-captain of the Riverboat was really just doing his job, trying to move a private pontoon parked in the Riverboat's designated parking spot. The people from the private boat then started this fight that you're seeing here, and then later it escalated into a full-on brawl. Sam Brock joins me now. Now, Sam, tell us more about these charges and the update that police gave you today.
Right. As you're watching that video, Jacob, you're just cringing, right? Because you're watching more and more people join on this pileup on this one guy, Damian Pickett. He's the co-captain. Look at that, just blindsided and hit from the side there, and then the numbers just grow. In terms of the charges, police and the local district attorney have now taken action. There are 3 outstanding warrants for 3 of the participants in this, 3 aggressors. One of them, Richard Roberts, has turned himself in. Now, here's where this gets interesting. The other 2 have not turned themselves in yet, and police said earlier today they were expecting them within an hour or 2, but that was like 10 hours ago. So there's 2 people who are still out there. They are third-degree assault misdemeanor charges, but nonetheless, that's a figure, Jake, that's expected to expand, as there were 13 people detained originally, and police and investigators have said this is ongoing. They do think there will be more charges coming as we just keep getting new angles of what happened, seeing all of these folks coming in to defend Pickett, and that sort of altercation just mushrooms to the result and point that it gets very cringeworthy and very upsetting, though thankfully no one was seriously injured.
Yeah, I mean, the video here, Sam, clearly shows at the beginning an all-white group assaulting a black man. I mean, what did the police chief say to have to say about whether or not this was racially motivated?
Right. To state the obvious, the optics look horrendous. They said they examined it. They went through the evidence, and there's nothing in there specifically that would meet the standards for the FBI when it comes to bringing hate crime charges, although the police chief, Jake, did describe the fact that there were some obscene things said and done, and he said it within the context of being asked about racial epithets. It is not clear what specifically he was alluding to, but here's what he told reporters earlier today.
While the Harriet was still out in the water, there was a lot of, I've seen finger gestures and comments and innuendos made at a distance. Of course, when the co-captain approached, that continued. We were unable to present any inciting a riot or racially biased charges at this time.
And I think the key is at this time, because police are still soliciting videos right now from the public. They're hoping to get new vantage points. So it is possible there could be hate crime charges coming, but at this point there are not.
You know, it's just extraordinary just how many camera angles seem to be making their way onto social media, you know, at this point. And I understand, Sam, that you heard from a new witness who was one of the people there when this brawl broke out. What did she tell you?
Correct. And this was interesting. And granted, this is just one woman's perspective, 52 years old, a mother. She's on the upper deck of this riverboat watching the scene play out. And I asked her if there were any signs of racial animus. And she said, look, I can't comment on that. What I can tell you is I was standing there listening for 45 minutes as the captain on the boat was using the PA system to tell these guys to move their pontoon. And she described it really as kind of arrogance and entitlement. Didn't matter who was asking. They just wanted nothing to do with it. Here's a sample of our conversation.
They were clearly paying no attention to us and just was like, you know, we're going to do what we want to do. I mean, that the attitude that they exude was the fact that you're not going to tell us what to do. We were here first.
But there's no doubt they were notified. They knew they were being asked to move.
Oh, they had ample opportunity to move their boat. Ample opportunity. And it was so preventable.
It should also be noted we're talking about a riverboat where it takes out people every day, a couple hundred people. There were 227 on the riverboat at that time. And there's a designated area for that boat because of the size of the moorings you need to be able to actually dock it and the width of the boat itself. So it's not like people would have been unaware of this. They just, in this case, according to police and witnesses as well, chose not to abide by those warnings.
More and more ugly angles on an ugly, ugly situation. Sam Brock, thank you so much for being there with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, let's get you caught up in 30 seconds. 3 men were hit today with misdemeanor assault charges after attacking a dock worker in Alabama. We are still expecting more charges from that ugly brawl. Polls in Mississippi just closed for the governor's race. One of the key issues, the grocery tax in the state. And more than 11,000 Los Angeles city workers walked off the job today. Sanitation workers, lifeguards, airport shuttle drivers, they are all among the groups demanding better wages and conditions. Now to an NBC News exclusive about the man accused of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a sex worker in Oregon. The FBI is now looking for more victims of this suspect, 29-year-old Negasi Zuberi. They are asking any potential victims or tipsters to reach out. They say Zuberi is also being investigated in at least 4 other sexual assaults in at least 4 other states. NBC's Ken Delaney spoke exclusively to the FBI supervisor investigating the case.
The FBI normally doesn't discuss pending investigations, but in this case, the Bureau wants to get the word out because they believe there are victims across the country who never came forward. The Bureau last week announced the arrest of 29-year-old Negasi Zuberi after a woman he allegedly abducted and raped escaped from a cinder block cell in his garage outside of Portland, Oregon. Police say she beat down the cell door with her bare hands and then ran down the street to flag a motorist for help. Investigators say Zuberi posed as a police officer and threatened her with a taser. Here's Stephanie Shark, assistant special agent in charge of the Portland office.
Her hands, she'd been beating that cell for hours, and her hands were very bruised and bloodied, and there was skin broken on them.
The FBI says it now has linked Zuberi to at least 3 additional violent sexual assaults, but says he lived in at least 10 states, so they believe there are more victims. Investigators say he targeted sex workers who may be reluctant to come forward. Shark says they have nothing to worry about.
We would like any victims of his crimes to feel empowered to come forward so that they can rewrite their endings. They no longer need to be afraid. He is in custody, and we are ready to listen to support their truth and their experience and give light to it so that they can rewrite their own ending.
In a bizarre twist, Zuberi was a contestant on the Judge Judy show in 2018 in an episode about a dispute with his domestic partner. That same woman later accused him of domestic violence in court records in 2020 and was living with him at the time of his arrest. The FBI says Zuberi lived over the last decade in 10 states, including California and New York, and went by aliases including Sakima, Justin Heish, and Justin Kawasi. The FBI is asking anyone with information to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. NBC News reached out to Zuberi's lawyer, but didn't hear back. Back to you.
At least 2 people have died after powerful storms pummeled the eastern part of the country last night. In South Carolina, a tree fell and killed a 15-year-old boy. In Alabama, a man died after being struck by lightning, which happened while he was walking through a parking lot. In total, there were more than 600 storms reported yesterday. Nearly 900,000 homes and businesses lost power. Now, this is not Tornado Alley. This is tornadoes hitting states that have almost no experience of them. I mean, look at this. Here is a funnel cloud tearing through Hartford, New York. Another tornado touched down in southeastern Massachusetts. Cleanup is underway after relentless winds tore down trees and tangled power lines. Tim Furlong with NBC Philadelphia takes us into one hard-hit Delaware neighborhood.
I was in that second floor window right there.
Mark was up in his home office when he says the sky suddenly looked and sounded like he had never seen it before.
It was so quick, so high-pitched maybe sounding, so different that it was just hairs on the back of the neck and let's run to the basement.
Mark's house destroyed by at least 2 massive trees. His ceilings are now on his floor. His deck is now covered in debris, but he and his wife and their dog are thankfully okay. And the rest of their neighborhood in Pike Creek near the Landenberg, PA line, well, it's now in full cleanup mode.
Now, as many as 7 million people are at risk for severe weather overnight in the southeast and parts of the plains. And joining us now is NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach. He's in Westminster, Maryland, another hard-hit area. Gary, take us to where you are. What have you seen, and what have the people there been through?
Yeah, this is a storm, Jake, that produced serious damage in isolated areas. This was one of those isolated areas. I want to show you what crews have been working on all day here. As far as the eye can see, those poles, electric poles, have been downed on one of the main thoroughfares, Baltimore Boulevard, here in Westminster, Maryland. This particular power pole was crashed onto this red SUV, and there were 35 cars that were in this situation all the way down this road. 33 adults, 14 children, all of them are all right. But you see the serious nature of all of this. And think about it. You're in a car, you're at a red light, it is pouring rain, torrential downpour, and a power pole crashes onto your car. You can't get out because there's live wires. And so you're there in your car. It took emergency crews 5 hours to get everybody out of the cars. They were actually throwing water bottles from the sidewalk into people's cars throughout the evening to make sure they were all right. But everyone got out, and thankfully there were 0 injuries with any of this here in Westminster. Jake?
These images are terrifying, especially because I just have to assume, I mean, Gary, I don't know your personal story. I don't know where you're from, but, you know, I was born in Connecticut. We had no personal experience of this kind of weather. I mean, how unusual is this in the place where you are? I mean, I can't imagine what that would be like to experience that at all, much less for the first time in your life.
Yeah, we're 30 minutes north of Baltimore. This is not an area that ever experiences things like this. But to be clear, there was no tornado that touched down here. These were straight line winds. And the reason we have a sense of that, although the National Weather Service has not officially said that, is because of the way that these power poles have collapsed. They're all down the exact same way. And a tornado, it comes down in different directions because that's how a tornado spins around. Here, they all came crashing down on the road, one after another after another. And the governor had a lot to say about this, too. He toured this area this morning. Here's what he had to say.
This is going to take some time to fix. The damage from last night is significant, and it will take time to make sure that we are getting everything done. But know that we plan on staying coordinated, we plan on staying focused, and know that we are going to get this done.
So he says we're going to get this done. The timetable, though, is unclear. Right now, there's 30,000 people without power across the state of Maryland. And this is one of the major roads through Westminster, Maryland. They need to get this open sooner rather than later. Jacob?
As the governor says, this will take time. NBC's Gary Grumbach, thank you so much for being there. Coming up, NBC's Courtney Kube shares her experience being trapped in Niger during the military takeover. It is an astonishing look inside the coup. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Here's our look around the world in 80 seconds. An emergency worker is among the dead in 2 missile strikes in eastern Ukraine. Now, according to officials, 9 people were killed and 82 were hurt, including 38 emergency workers. This first missile strike on Monday was followed by a second explosion less than an hour later. Evacuations are underway in South Korea for tens of thousands of teenage scouts. Both a heat wave and tropical storm forced the early closure of the celebrated World Jamboree. Some 36,000 scouts are now being taken inland to ride out that storm. The Texas woman known online as the Sassy Trucker has finally left the United Arab Emirates after being stranded there for months. Dubai police reportedly arrested her over an alleged altercation at a rental car agency. It is not clear whether she still faces any legal jeopardy. And a hero send-off in Ireland today for Sinead O'Connor. Hundreds of people traveled to her former home in Bray. It's a seaside village just south of Dublin where O'Connor lived for 15 years. Among those who paid tribute, Ireland's Prime Minister and the singer Bono. Turning now to the latest in Niger. A senior U.S. diplomat says coup leaders there will not let her meet with the country's democratically elected president. The country's president has been under what's been described as virtual house arrest after soldiers took over last month. NBC's Courtney Kube and producer Moshe Gaines were there in the capital city working on a different series of stories, and suddenly they found themselves in the middle of this coup. Have a look.
It's an another story I think a lot of Americans don't know. There's 1,100 U.S. troops in Niger at 3 bases, and they work with the Nigerian military, particularly the Special Operations Forces there, and particularly because there's this sort of confluence of terror networks that are all really converging on West Africa and coastal West Africa right now. And so we said we want to tell that story that no one's telling. They live in poverty. Millions of them are starving to the point where their bodies are eating themselves. They don't have water, they don't have electricity, they don't have health care. And now their security is really in jeopardy because of these terror networks. So we had planned this 10-day trip there to cover all of that and do several different stories. And 19 hours before the coup started, we were told by U.S. officials that they believed that the government there was pretty stable and that there weren't problems with corruption or infighting.
Tonight, chaos in the capital of Niger after what appears to be a coup attempt against President Mohamed Bazoum by his own security forces.
We had a couple of public affairs officer escorts, and I came down to breakfast, and one of them came in and his eyes were enormous, and he said, okay, so it's fine, everything's fine, and said, there's a security situation, you need to go to your room. Over the next probably 10 minutes, it became clear that the president had been taken hostage by his own security services and that the U.S. military and everyone in Niamey was locked down. The first time when we first saw the video of all the heads of the military together, that was the first moment where I thought, this isn't going to be resolved quickly. I think there's this stereotypical idea of a coup, and you have vehicles speeding through the streets with people brandishing weapons and people running and looting. Everything was calm until the gunfire started. So I kept thinking, okay, at a certain point, we're going to be able to leave and we're going to be able to get a sense of what's really happening. But we couldn't. The military stayed locked down. It's frustrating to be there and feel like you're in the middle of something that's unfolding and you're stuck in a hotel trying to watch it from afar and trying to gather. And I understood that it was such an unpredictable situation and it was changing quickly. But then as days went on, it became more and more clear that President Bazoum was not coming back into power. By Sunday afternoon, it seemed impossible for the U.S. not to see this as the legal definition of a military coup. And I know that the U.S. does not want to make that declaration because of all the legal implications that come with it. It cuts off about $400 million in aid to the Nigerian people who are going to be the victims of this entire thing in the end. All that's going to mean is this population of people who have so little already are going to be further exploited, and the natural resources of that country are going to be further exploited.
Over the weekend, thousands took to the streets of the capital here, mostly peaceful, supporting the coup. Some waving Russian flags chanting, "Long live Russia."
From the first day of the coup, the military started talking to us about, we'll get you to the airport when it reopens. You know, we were there on a military embed, and so technically they felt responsible for us being there and being stuck there. And they felt very strongly about us being able to get out before things got bad or potentially bad in the city or in the country. But we didn't make it far from the hotel until we hit the protests. And there were just a sea of people. And there was a police checkpoint. Then the police at the checkpoints started kind of walking down the vehicles. And that was the first point where I thought, okay, I think we need to get out of here. And all of a sudden, our driver just drove across the median and turned around and sped away. And the police were yelling at us, and we were able to make our way over to the base eventually. By the time we got to the base, the demonstrators had started attacking the French embassy. The U.S. embassy is right near the French embassy. There was definitely a more tense atmosphere on base when we got there on Sunday.
Hi, QB. So we made it to Germany overnight. We flew on a C-17. Grateful that we made it out of Niger.
I don't feel very proud of my work all the time. I kind of feel like I'm doing my best and I'm doing my job. But one thing that I thought was really cool was the only 3 foreign reporters there were all women. And that was so cool to me, and I was really proud of it.
Courtney Kuby doing the work for all of us. Courtney, thank you. Now, before we go, it is time for the future of everything. Self-driving cars might soon be a reality here in San Francisco, but experts are pointing out a lot of safety concerns with them. We will have more on that after this break. In tonight's Future of Everything, we are taking a closer look at the debate over self-driving cars. This sounds like far-out futuristic stuff, but it is a really hot topic here in San Francisco because companies here like Waymo and Cruise already have self-driving taxis working the streets. Here's the thing. There are some serious safety concerns, especially from local officials and emergency responders. This week, a major vote could soon allow the companies to expand their services in the city. It's a decision that could have far-reaching implications, not just here, but across the country. Bigan Shaban from our NBC Bay Area stations explains.
No hands on the wheel, no hands at all.
Okay, I just requested our ride, and it's 3 minutes away.
More than 2,000 self-driving cars are on the road in California. Most have a test driver inside who can take over when needed. But hundreds of cars have no one in the front seat as they make deliveries and shuttle passengers. We tried a ride with Cruise. Owned by GM, Cruise is one of the largest driverless car companies in America, along with its competitor, Google's Waymo. Both are now asking California regulators for permission to expand their robotaxi services inside the state's largest testing ground, San Francisco, so passengers can request rides 24 hours a day, right from their phones.
Once you enter your destination, the car does the rest. You can't tell it what routes to take or streets to avoid. So if you're used to being a backseat driver, you might want to find a car with a front seat driver.
Autonomous vehicles can detect closed streets, drive around double-parked cars, and even pull over for emergency vehicles. But getting chauffeured by a robot isn't always a smooth ride. State transportation records obtained by NBC News show self-driving cars have been involved in 280 crashes across California over the past 5 years, resulting in at least 64 injuries and a dead dog. That includes collisions with other vehicles, bicyclists, and city buses.
A self-driving car and no driver.
Some accidents were caused by other people on the road, according to crash reports. How many is unclear from the data. But the cars have been confused by emergency scenes, sometimes plowing into caution tape or blocking fire trucks. Waymo didn't comment, but Cruise tells us automation has safety benefits.
Our cars don't drive drunk, they don't get distracted.
Prashanthi Raman is one of the leaders at Cruise.
Our vehicles are designed to, when they approach a situation that they aren't sure about, they're designed to come to a safe stop.
But you would acknowledge that even coming to a full stop can create safety issues too.
So traffic blockages are not something that we want to have happen.
Just hours after that interview, it did happen. To us. Our first ride with Cruise went as planned. But we then invited a longtime driving instructor, Eugenia Borges, to join us on a second ride. About 1 minute in, our car was at a green light, but wouldn't budge.
It's a very safe situation for the car to turn, and it's just staying here. I'm not sure why.
The car eventually inched forward, but kept stopping.
We're kind of now riding in between two lanes.
Then, all of a sudden, it hit the gas.
Oh.
Okay, I don't know what it's doing now.
Our car drove straight towards the median and just stopped, taking up almost 2 full lanes.
This is not good.
People are honking at us.
Soon came the looks from other drivers.
How does this compare to the worst driving student you've ever had?
Oh, this is much worse.
Cruise declined to sit down with us again, but in a statement said the car encountered an unexpected construction zone that would have required several lane changes. The better course was for the autonomous vehicle to come to a safe stop rather than proceed. While other drivers cruised right past that closed lane, our car sat parked on a busy street for 20 minutes, causing a traffic jam for blocks.
What's your reaction to it being a driverless car stuck here?
I'm not surprised.
Self-driving cars are already being tested in at least 25 states. But with no federal regulations, America doesn't have a national roadmap for safety guidelines.
Hey there, guys. Just wanted to check in.
Back inside our car, Cruise customer service contacted us to say they detected a problem. Their solution? They sent us a driver to get behind the wheel. Gadi Shaban, NBC News, San Francisco.
That will do it for us tonight. I'm Jake Ward. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, please stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.